And I thought, since you may have seen in the news that the state of Nebraska is opening up public worship along with some other businesses, we'd go over all of the details of how we're going to move going forward. We're certainly not out of the woods yet, and I'm just going to go over what the bishop and the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Safety, as well as our local recommendations, have shown us. So, as I said, as of May 4th, 2020, parishes and religious institutions are now permitted to gather for the celebration of liturgies while practicing appropriate behaviors for containing the spread of COVID-19. These guidelines are subject to change in the event of new instructions from local or state health officials in the office of the bishop. So just a reminder, this is only for my two parishes here in southwestern Nebraska. You should contact your local pastors as to what exactly they will be doing moving forward, especially if you are not in this area. So generally speaking, the dispensation from Sunday and Holy Day of obligation, those may remain in place, meaning that we aren't obliged to go to Sunday Mass. It's still optional for us. So if you feel like you should stay home, please stay home. Secondly, these gatherings are limited only to sacred liturgy, meaning the Mass, like First Friday Holy Hour, funerals, things like that. So other gatherings like coffee and rolls and Bible studies, CCD, wedding receptions, funeral dinners, all of those are still prohibited. Also, this doesn't really apply to us that much, but the bishop has restricted outdoor Mass. All right, now I'm going to go through the groups of people who probably should stay home. There is no cure for this. There is hardly any treatment even for this, and there's certainly no vaccine for this, so it will still spread. And as we open up the economy and businesses in our parishes, it'll probably spread a little quicker. That's just the reality of things. So people who should stay home, the sick, obviously, the elderly, and I understand that a lot of parishes, their most devoted parishioners are the elderly, but this is a particularly dangerous disease for people who are over a certain age. Also people with underlying medical conditions, specifically ones that have to do with upper respiratory, asthma, COPD, things like that. All the things that have been talked about in the news. Family members who live with elderly people or those who are sick. So if you are often around an elderly family member, then that applies to you. You probably should stay home just so you don't risk getting them sick. People who have access to those at risk in nursing institutions. So I would say if you work at a nursing home, that those are the most vulnerable people when it comes to the COVID-19 virus. So if you work in a nursing home, you should probably stay home. I would even say if you live in an assisted living facility, you don't want to bring it into there. And then obviously we have people who are sick. So people who have upper respiratory or flu-like symptoms, people who live with someone who has an upper respiratory or flu-like symptoms, people obviously with COVID-19 or live with someone with COVID-19, or people that have been exposed to someone who has COVID-19. Archbishop Lucas said that these guidelines basically still prevent about 40 to 50% of people not being able to attend Mass in person. So this is not going back to the way things were, and it probably will be this way for quite a while. I still have daily Mass that will be posted on YouTube and on Facebook, so if you're watching it that way, continue to do so. So for those of us who can attend Mass, what is that going to look like? These are what are called requested containment practices for those attending Mass. First and foremost, you will only be allowed to sit with members of your household. And we're going to cordon off every other pew so that there will be that distance in between each household. And in some of the pews, I will have a 6-foot section in the middle cordoned off so that 2 different households could sit at either end of the same pew. That's social distancing is first and foremost what is going to dictate what happens at Mass. Obviously, as we've all learned the past couple of months, you should cough into your sleeve. When you enter church, you will see that there will be baskets by the doors that will have a place for you to put your contribution envelope in. There will be no ushers taking up the collection. And similarly, at the entrance, there will be tables with missalettes, and I'll have the missalette holders at each door sort of taped off so that you're not tempted to put the missalettes back in, because what's going to happen is that once you pick that missalette up, that missalette is yours. Now, there's not enough for everybody to have their own, so I'll say probably 2 per family to take with. In that way, at least there'll be enough people that can follow along with the music and help out that way. In terms of people who actually assist at Mass, this is my own personal thing, just to make things simpler and to keep things at lowest risk. I will not be requiring the help of any altar servers or acolytes. We will still have readers and musicians as long as they can maintain that 6-foot distancing. In the liturgy in particular, there will be no hand-holding during the Our Father. The sign of peace will be omitted. When it comes to communion, what we'll do here in this parish, because the church will kind of be chopped up into pieces where people are sitting, most likely what will happen is I'll have one household at a time come up to receive communion. And we'll do so in a single file line, so you're not side by side. And I think that's the way that we'll do it. We'll kind of see how it works and play it by ear. It might take longer, but that's what we'll have to do. Obviously, with over half the church not being able to be used, we won't be able to have a full church. And obviously, with 40 to 50% of people already being recommended to not attend Mass, there will be less people at Mass. But if the communion line takes a long time, that's okay. At least people can receive communion. After Mass, you probably should, I would say, from the back of the church to the front, leave as a household unit. We don't want any bottlenecking at the exits. If you have children, especially little ones that might see their buddies that they haven't maybe seen in a while, please keep them from running over to them and hanging out with them. At least help them to maintain the 6-foot minimum. Don't gather in the narthex or outside in groups after Mass. Simply go home. I will need people to stay after Mass to help sanitize everything. We're going to sanitize all of the touch surfaces, door handles, doorknobs, pew rails, seat backs, things like that. So please help out with that. Please attend Mass in your home parish to prevent the spread from community to community. And as a final thing, I would say, if you have a mask, wear it. It might be awkward, but I think we're all getting used to that now. It doesn't necessarily protect you from a virus, but it can protect others from getting the virus from you. So please, if you have a mask, wear it to church. Also, we will have to rework the way that we do confessions, since at the moment they're in the sanctuary of the church. That would be difficult to do with people in the church waiting for Mass. So at St. John's, we will have confessions in the parish hall. There'll be a setup in there where there'll be correct distancing and all that. At St. Germanus, we will have, I'm trying to go places that avoid stairs. So we'll have, if the weather permits, we'll have confession in the sanctuary, or in the shrine, Our Lady of Fatima shrine, right there in front of the altar. And if it's rainy or bad weather, then we'll have it in the sacristy of the church. I just want to remind everybody that we're nowhere near out of the woods yet. It's not like, hey, we can all go back to church and it'll be the same as before. This is a very much still restricted form of public worship, but at least we get to have it. Know that I would rather have you stay home than have to do your funeral. So if there is the slightest amount of hesitation or fear that you feel, please stay home and know that I am praying for all of you and your families. I am looking forward to seeing you again. May God bless all of you.